Gauff suffers an unexpected and tough setback in her debut in Doha. The WTA Doha 2026 is being characterized by a good number of upsets in its early rounds. The latest one starred a top 5 player like Coco Gauff. It seemed like the desired debut after her fall in the Australian Open against a lucky loser who barely holds 2 wins against top 10 players on her record. We're talking about Elisabetta Cocciaretto, who, however, transformed herself to take advantage of Coco's errors and lack of confidence in a match that was one-sided, 6-4, 6-2. A resounding defeat for a Gauff who struggles to find consistency. This news is an automatic translation. You can read the original news. Gauff sufre un inesperado y duro varapalo en su debut in Doha. Gauff suffers an unexpected and tough setback in her Doha debut. The Doha night air was still heavy with expectation when Coco Gauff stepped onto the court. Under the glow of floodlights and the quiet hum of a crowd waiting to be stirred, the moment felt ripe, another chapter ready to be written by one of tennis's brightest young stars. Yet sport, in its cruel and beautiful honesty, rarely follows the script we imagine. For Gauff, her debut in Doha was supposed to signal momentum, a fresh tournament, a new surface, another chance to sharpen her game against the world's best. Instead, it became a reminder that growth is rarely linear, and even the most gifted talents are not immune to sudden, stinging setbacks. From the opening games, something felt just slightly off. The familiar rhythm that usually defines Gauff's play, her explosive movement, her fearless shot-making, the unmistakable confidence of a player who believes she belongs anywhere, flickered rather than flowed. Her opponent sensed it immediately. In elite tennis, hesitation is an invitation, and the invitation was accepted. Gauff fought, as she always does. She chased down balls that seemed lost, stretched rallies beyond comfort, and summoned flashes of brilliance that drew appreciative murmurs from the stands. A heavy forehand here, a perfectly timed backhand there, moments that reminded everyone why her name carries such weight despite her youth. But moments alone do not win matches, and in Doha, consistency proved elusive. Errors crept in quietly at first, then all at once. A missed return at a critical juncture. A double fault that lingered longer than it should have. Each small lapse added pressure, and pressure, in turn, tightened her game. Tennis can be unforgiving that way. It magnifies doubt and rewards clarity. What made the loss so unexpected was not simply the result, but the contrast to expectations. Gauff arrived in Doha as a player accustomed to deep runs, someone who had already learned how to navigate big stages and hostile crowds. This was not supposed to be a stumbling block. Yet the sport has a way of humbling even its most prepared competitors, reminding them that reputation earns nothing once the first ball is struck. As the match slipped away, Gauff's frustration was visible but controlled. There were no smashed rackets, no dramatic gestures, only a quiet intensity, a young athlete processing disappointment in real time. When the final point was played, she stood still for a moment, absorbing the reality before walking to the net with grace. Losses hurt more when they arrive unannounced. But if Doha offered pain, it also offered perspective. Setbacks like this do not define careers, they shape them. For Gauff, whose rise has been watched, analyzed, and often accelerated by public expectation, nights like this are part of the education. They teach patience. They expose weaknesses that practice alone cannot reveal. They demand reflection rather than reaction. There is something uniquely challenging about losing early, especially when the world expects progress. The narrative shifts quickly, from promise to pressure, from momentum to questions. Yet Gauff has lived with questions before, and she has answered them not with words, but with work. Doha will not be remembered for trophies or triumphs in her story. It will be remembered, if at all, as a pause, a moment where the journey slowed just enough to test resolve. Champions are not made only in victory, but in how they respond when the spotlight dims and the applause fades. As she left the court, the night swallowed the sound of footsteps, and the tournament moved on. But Gauff's journey did not stall. It simply took a sharper turn. Somewhere between disappointment and determination lies growth, and history suggests she knows how to find it. The desert air may have cooled, but the fire remains. And setbacks, no matter how tough or unexpected, have a way of fueling those who are built to rise again. That if you want this rewritten in a more dramatic, more journalistic, or more emotional tone, or tailored for a blog, school assignment, or sports magazine, just say the word. Gauff suffers an unexpected and tough setback in her debut in Doha. The court in Doha shimmered under the lights, polished and perfect, as if it were waiting to showcase something special. For Coco Gauff, this debut was meant to be a statement, another confident stride forward in a career that has unfolded under constant attention and rising expectation. Instead, it became one of those nights that athletes remember not for what they achieved, but for what they learned. From the first serve, the match carried an edge of unpredictability. Gauff, usually so composed in her movements, appeared caught between intention and execution. Her footwork, typically electric, was a half-step late. Her timing, often fearless, wavered just enough to open the door to doubt. It was subtle, but at the elite level, subtle is everything. Doha can be unforgiving. The conditions demand precision, patience, and adaptability, qualities Gauff possesses in abundance. Yet tennis has a way of testing those qualities all at once. Her opponent played freely, sensing opportunity, pressing into rallies and refusing to yield ground. Each game became a small battle, and each lost point carried extra weight. Still, Gauff resisted. She always does. She dug deep, chasing down shots that seemed destined for winners, flashing glimpses of the brilliance that has defined her rise. There were moments when the crowd stirred, expecting a shift, expecting the familiar surge. But momentum never fully arrived. Instead, the match slipped into a pattern where effort outpaced reward. Errors crept in at the worst times. A forehand sailed long when precision was needed most. A serve faltered under pressure. The scoreboard, indifferent and honest, told a story Gauff was fighting to rewrite. Tennis offers no hiding place, and on this night, every struggle was visible. What made the setback so tough was its timing. A debut is supposed to be a beginning, a chance to settle in and build confidence. This one felt abrupt, unfinished. The expectations surrounding Gauff, shaped by past triumphs and the promise of future greatness, only magnified the sting. Losses are part of the game, but unexpected ones linger longer. As the match neared its end, Gauff's expression revealed frustration mixed with resolve. There was no drama, no collapse, only a young competitor confronting the reality that not every fight ends in victory. When the final point was played, she paused briefly, absorbing the moment, before walking to the net with maturity beyond her years. In that pause lay the true significance of the night.